Wait, you're a Bears fan and you're not subscribed to my channel? Before this video starts, make sure to 1. Hit the subscribe button below to catch all Bears content right here on this podcast. 2. Hit the bell notification because you, my friend, are a diehard Bears fan. And 3. Like this video and tell all the Bears fans you know about the channel. Alright, that's better. Now that you're actually subscribed to the channel, make sure to bear down and enjoy this video.
Now this is a podcast all about Bears. You either cheering for this team or just pulling your hair. I like to take a minute, just sit right back and tell you how I became the #1 Bears fan. That boy is Benny Hunter. Cake on the mic, cake on the mic, cake on the mic, cake on the mic. People, this the intro. Sacramento, California, born and raised. And Antelope is where I spend most of my days. You talk bad about my team, you must be a clown. This is Keek on the mic, so you know you better bear down. Bear down.
Hey, what's going on, Bears fans? Once again, thank you so much for tuning in for another episode of Keek on the Mic. And before I continue with this episode, I just want to thank you guys, all of you, from the bottom of my heart for tuning in every episode, for engaging with me all about the Chicago Bears. Because at the end of the day, we all love the Chicago Bears. We're all so passionate, and I just love it. Every single episode I do is for you guys, and I'm trying to keep you guys up to date with all the head coaching news and all the GM news, just so I can give you guys the best content possible. But obviously, I say this all the time, I wouldn't be doing this podcast, and this podcast wouldn't be where it's at today without the outpouring of love and support from you guys, the loyal Bears fans. And I just enjoy doing it so much. So once again, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for tuning in for every episode of Keek on the Mic. I truly, truly appreciate it. So now let's get down to business. And obviously, this has been a whirlwind of emotions in terms of the long, thorough search the McCaskies and the Chicago Bears are doing in order to get the right head coach and the right GM. And before I continue, I just want to ask you guys, as Bears fans, how are you guys feeling? Are you feeling anxious, nervous? What is your emotion? Comment down below in the comment section. Let me know how you're feeling so far with this whole head coach GM search, because it has been long. The McCaskies are doing a thorough search, and kudos to them. They're not trying to get it wrong, but at the same time, I hope we don't screw this up, and I hope we don't miss out on a candidate that would actually help the Chicago Bears get to the next level. So, like I mentioned, I'm doing my best to keep you guys up to date on the head coaching search, on the GM search. But today, let's talk a little bit about the head coaching search and how it is going. So, ESPN's Dan Graziano, he reveals his current favorites for the Bears head coaching job. Obviously, Dan Graziano is a respected name within the ESPN circle. He has a lot of connections. So I kind of hold what he says to a high regard because he has those connections. So when he brings something up, obviously he knows more than we do. So I kind of trust his opinion and his judgment going on as it concerns the Chicago Bears head coaching job. But according to ESPN's Dan Graziano, former Colts and Lions head coach Jim Caldwell, Bills defensive coordinator Leslie Frazier, and former Eagles head coach Doug Pederson have emerged as the current favorites in Chicago's coaching search. All three are former head coach. I don't like this at all. I'm going to be straight up honest with you. I know I've heard a lot of good things about Caldwell, and I guess he's a pretty decent head coach. As the Bears are looking for that leader of men, obviously he would give them that option. But I don't like what Dan Graziano is saying here. Absolutely not at all. I wouldn't want any of these guys. Obviously, they're not my favorite. You guys know who my favorite is by now. If you guys don't, my favorite is Brian Daboll. But this is what Graziano had to say about the situation. According to multiple sources, the Raiders and Vikings both reached out to former Colts and Lions coach Jim Caldwell this week to request to interview him. He declined both requests. This indicates strongly that Caldwell believes he will get one of the other open jobs. And my understanding is that he's in the mix in both Chicago and Jacksonville and already is reaching out to candidates for his staff. If I had to bet right now, I'd say Caldwell ends up in Chicago, where former Colts general manager Bill Polian is helping direct the search. Though it's obviously interesting that Colts defense coordinator Matt Eberflus is scheduled for a second interview there. Graziano also mentioned Frazier and Pederson are names to watch with the Bears. The Bears were interviewing Bills defense coordinator and former Vikings coach Leslie Frazier on Friday, and I'm told there's still support for Frazier in their building. Former Eagles coach Doug Pederson is also someone to watch in Chicago if Caldwell doesn't turn out to be its guy. This is very interesting to me. And for me personally, if these are their 3 finalists, if it is Caldwell, Eberflus, and Frazier, those end up being their finalists, and then Leftwich and Dable are just out of the mix, that would be very surprising. Obviously, McCaskey made it very known before the search is that they weren't looking for exactly a defensive guy or an offensive guy. They were more looking for someone that is a leader of men, someone that can lead the charge for the whole team, not just worrying about developing Justin Fields, but worrying about the whole scope of the Chicago Bears organization and all the players on the team, which for some sense, it makes some sense. But for me personally, I was hoping that we would get an offensive guy that can develop Justin Fields and also be a leader for those other guys. Because at the end of the day, and I can repeat this until I'm blue in the face, you guys know how I feel about this. At the end of the day, it's all about the development of Justin Fields and making sure he can get to where he needs to be. I've been reading your guys' comments, and I've been seeing what you guys have had to say about these different defensive guys that are getting interviews and stuff. And most of you guys are saying that, well, I don't really mind a defensive guy, but as long as they get an offensive coordinator. Which, yes, it's true. These defensive guys can have a really good plan for Justin Fields in place. They could have a really good offensive coordinator that can get Justin Fields to the next level. What concerns me about getting a defensive coach and just having an offensive coordinator, what happens when this offensive coordinator comes in and let's say he does develop Justin Fields and he does end up making this Bears offense like a top 10 offense? What's going to happen? He's going to end up getting a head coaching job, right? That's what happens. It's just kind of like the circle of life at that point. That's what scares me about getting a defensive head coach. If that's the direction the Chicago Bears want to go and they think that's the direction that will get not only Justin Fields and this whole Chicago Bears organization to the next level, go for it, McCaskies. We're just fans. I'm just here to state my opinion, but at the end of the day, I'm just a fan. I don't make the tough decisions. But I hope in the hearts of hearts that at least Dable and Leftwich get a second interview, and I hope that they are a finalist. And like I mentioned earlier in the podcast, Dan Graziano's word to me means everything. He's a well-respected name within the ESPN circle. So if he's saying that these guys are high on the McCaskey's list, I wouldn't pass it by the McCaskies because these are the type of guys that they're looking for. I had a past podcast where I was talking about the McCaskies are looking for leader of men type guys. And what Caldwell and Leslie Frazier and even Eberflus all have in common, they are that leader of men. They believe that these guys can come in and not only develop Justin Fields, but develop the other players on the Chicago Bears roster. So no matter if we like it or not, we may want to start getting prepared that it may not be an offensive guy like Dable or Leftwich. It may be a guy that can lead the franchise and everyone, all the players on the team, not just Justin Fields. I don't like it, but at the end of the day, I guess we would just have to deal with it and see if it works out for the Chicago Bears. So how are you guys feeling about what Dan Graziano said about Jim Caldwell actually maybe being in line to be the next Chicago Bears head coach? Let me know down below in the comment section, and let me know how you guys are feeling about this. But before I let you guys go, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the bell notification to catch all Bears content around the podcast. Make sure you follow me on all my social media platforms, and make sure you share this episode of Kick on the Mic with every single Bears fan that you know. But other than that, I'll be back for an all-new Bears podcast right here on Kick on the Mic. Thanks, guys, and bear down.
You ain't bout it, you ain't bout it, you ain't kick on the mic. You ain't bout it, you ain't bout it, you ain't kick on the mic. You can go and subscribe, cause I be on it right. You ain't